could you maybe not be human? In this video, we're going to delve into 7 signs that you may be a starseed and exactly what that means, because it is kind of a buzzword these days. And in my experience, people have kind of different definitions. So we'll go into at least my definition of what that means today. But first, for those of you who don't know me, my name's Hannah, and I help people to own their powers and step into the driver's seat of their own lives. Today, we're going to be doing that by figuring out all this starseed business already, so you can stop beating yourself up for being weird or different or broken and just realize you're not alone already. And if you're already picking up what I'm putting down here, if you're resonating with this, I would encourage you to like this video, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be updated when I post on my schedule, because know that these updates, these notifications, these videos that I post are reminders that you are not alone, my friend. And that is honestly probably the most challenging thing on the journey of a starseed, is feeling alone and isolated, and I will be talking about that later. So I do encourage you to stick around to the very end of the video, because I'm not just going to diagnose you in this video, if you will, but I'm going to actually give you some tools and some solutions at the very end to help you deal and cope and integrate this. But before we delve into that, what exactly does it mean to be a starseed? As I said, there are many different definitions, and I don't feel like any definition is wrong or right per se. I feel like all definitions have truth in them, regardless of how that manifests. But my belief on what a starseed is that this is a soul that typically incarnates in other planets, on other planets and other realities and other worlds as like a different species. A soul that is maybe not used to incarnating as a human here on Earth in this reality, in other words. And that's not to say you haven't had a lot of lives here on Earth, because I can tell you, I identify as a starseed, and I know for a fact I've had many, 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 many lives here on Earth as a human. However, my soul is so old, even though I've had many lives here as a human, it's just like a tiny little blip in comparison to how many lives my soul has lived in like all the other places and the other species that my soul has been. So I encourage you, as always, to check in with your own intuition on what feels right for you, because this is going to vary for everyone a little slightly. And as I spoke about in my recent video about starseeds and autism, which I'd encourage you to check out here, there are some striking parallels between the two, in fact. And the more I go down the starseed rabbit hole, the more I go down the autism rabbit hole. The more I go down the autism rabbit hole, the more I'm led back to the starseed rabbit hole. So I'm starting to have this sort of hypothesis that autism is in fact like a diagnosis or an explanation, a scientific explanation, if you will, for what it means to be a starseed. So take of that what you will, and I would encourage you to check out that video because I go more into it there. Now, I won't bait you any longer. We're just gonna get right on into it with the 7 signs that indicate you may, in fact, be a starseed. Number 1 is that you've always kind of felt out of place, like you don't belong here. There's just something off that maybe even you couldn't put your finger on, but there's a part of you that may be feeling like you have to pretend at being human, like you have to observe others and try to like kind of figure out what is acceptable in a given situation, how to act, what is the right way to act. And you just kind of always feel sort of dissonance, if you will, which then can lead to isolation and even depression. These are common, I would say, sub-signs actually of being a starseed. 2 is that you've always kind of wanted to go home. Even if you didn't know what that meant, there's just a part of you that's like, this isn't my home. I want to go home. And an interesting way that this can manifest that I personally experienced, and I know many other starseeds have as well, is this sense of feeling like you're adopted, or maybe even being convinced that you're adopted or wishing that you were adopted, even though you aren't adopted. And maybe for some, like you really actually are adopted on top of it. So it is like this, again, dissonance. It's a dissonance between you and the family you were born into, if I could distill that down to a single sentence. Basically, if this is your feeling of like, you're feeling like adopted, in a sense, it is true. Because starseeds, under my understanding, what we do is we're kind of like these high vibrational souls, typically, that incarnate in the lower vibrational realms, such as 3D Earth, where we're currently vibing, and will like really intentionally incarnate into ancestral lines that are having a hard time, if you will, lines that are having a lot of troubles and kind of stuck in a loop, and they need kind of some help breaking out of it. So starseeds will intentionally incarnate into dysfunctional families, and families with a lot of trauma and problems and maybe mental, physical health issues and addictions and things like that, in order to help them break that cycle. Because as a starseed, you bring a sort of high vibrational energy with you, just innately and naturally, even if you're not aware of it, even if you're not working with this consciously. Your presence alone kind of helps people see things from a different perspective. 3 is that you may have always been drawn to just stargazing. And I know this was me as a kid. This got me through some seriously rough times. I was very isolated as a kid. As mentioned in the last sign, grew up in a very dysfunctional family, had a lot of trauma, a lot of drama and stuff. But what would always give me peace and help me get through this is like every night when I was by myself, I would just look out my window and I would look at the stars, and I would just like, oh, I would just feel the love. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm getting emotional just talking about it now. I would just feel like kind of love, if you will, beaming from the stars. And I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think I was an alien. I didn't think about aliens or anything like that. It's just looking at the stars brought me this sense of peace. And maybe it does for you as well. 4 is that you've had an affinity for sci-fi, like quite literally, for like aliens and stuff like that. But also fantasy, in the fantasy genre, and like medieval magic sort of stuff. And that one is maybe a lesser known sign. I know a lot of times when people talk about starseed signs, they'll bring up the sci-fi thing, but maybe not necessarily fantasy. However, my understanding why fantasy also plays into it is because I feel fantasy and worlds with like magic systems and stuff, it's kind of a representation of life on other planets, even though the focus maybe of the show or the series is not that it is like another planet and it's in outer space. It's taking place in a different world, like on a different planet. And so this is why starseeds are often gravitating both to sci-fi and fantasy, or maybe one or the other. And really this happens because these sci-fi and fantasy both, and I say this as like a writer of sci-fi and fantasy myself, they are very channeled. There's lots of spiritual truths channeled in sci-fi and fantasy fictional worlds. So we're kind of drawn to these things before we even consciously remember maybe that we have a connection to other worlds and to aliens and stuff, because we just sense there's a resonance there. Like what is being said, what is being played out in these fictional worlds is something that we just know innately to be true, and it feels familiar, and maybe it feels like home. So 5 is that you find most humans, shall we say, or just humanity as a collective at large, disturbing or confusing. It just does not make sense. You look at the things that are just kind of accepted in society and you're like, That doesn't make sense. And in fact, maybe it's disturbing on top of it not making sense. It's highly disturbing. And this also can lead to depression. Are you seeing a connection here? There's very much a link between being a starseed and getting depressed a lot because it's rough. It's rough being here and assimilating to these lower frequency energies. And I know some specific examples that come to mind from my life that other starseeds have also brought up is like the slave labor, really, that we experience here, where it's like we have to work 9-to-5 jobs in order to make enough money just to be able to live. Like, how disturbing and messed up is that? Shouldn't we all just be allowed to exist? Wouldn't it be nice if we just all had our needs just innately met? Like, if you just stop and think about it for a second. Isn't that disturbing? That it's like we have to give so much of our life force just so we're allowed to exist and to have basic needs met. Another thing that comes up is killing, particularly killing bugs. And I just noticed this. This was a huge thing for me as a kid. And I noticed this with other starseeds. And anytime like I would meet another person that just like doesn't like to kill bugs, I was like, that's my soul family right there. I know we're vibing. Ever since I was a child, like I was profoundly disturbed by the idea of killing bugs. I'm like, a life is a life. Just because they're tiny doesn't mean it's okay to kill them. Just because you find them annoying doesn't mean it's okay to kill them. Would you kill your little sibling because they were annoying? No. So that's kind of like, and that kind of comes back to like starseeds having this sense of unity consciousness, if you will. We really know that we are all connected, and it doesn't matter what physical form you're taking, we are all connected, and we are all equally as valuable. And currently in society and humanity, like, there's like a tier, and that is profoundly disturbing to me, and probably to you too, if you're a starseed. Another thing doesn't make sense is like drinking alcohol, for example. It's like a toxin that you're putting into your body. It has basically only negative effects. The positive effects really are not outweighing the negative effects, at least in my opinion. And yet most people do this, and this is like accepted in society. So if any or all of those things disturb you too, very likely that you are a starseed. 6 is that you may be empathic or a highly sensitive person, okay? And why this relates to starseeds, again, is because if you're used to incarnating as aliens, like in higher vibrational societies, that's just standard practice. We're all connected, unity consciousness. We communicate through telepathy. You can feel each other's like feelings and stuff and know each other's thoughts. And so as starseeds, we kind of bring a fragment of that with us when we incarnate as humans in this reality on this planet. And so that manifests as just being really sensitive to energy and to the emotions of others. 7, and the most important in my opinion, this is very, very important. You've always felt that you've had a mission. Even if you can't pinpoint what that mission is, you might feel like you have a mission. There's something you came here to do. And maybe sometimes it's so annoying because you're like, I can't remember what it is, but there's just something. I have this mission, okay? And there's just this innate knowing inside of you that's constantly guiding you to fulfill your mission without your conscious awareness sometimes. If this is you, know that mission, very likely what it is ascension and assisting humanity with the ascension process, because that is huge in the collective right now. And there's a lot of starseeds incarnating at this time for that specific purpose. Now, how that can manifest specifically and uniquely to you, that's going to vary. But overall, the overarching mission seems to be helping humanity with the ascension process. And know that if you're just being here at this time, you're doing a good job, my friend. So don't beat yourself up and feel like you have to do more. So how many signs are you relating to? I really want to know. Let me know in the comments, please and thank you. I'm not just saying that. As I always say, I see myself as a sort of spiritual scientist, and I like to gather data and see like what's resonating, what is not resonating with you guys. So let me know how many signs you relate to in the comments below. And know that if you are relating to at least 5 of these signs, congratulations, you are very likely a starseed. What now? So next, once you've identified that you're a starseed, I would encourage you to start exploring what kind of starseed you might be. And know that there are many, 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 many different types of starseeds that you can be. And they don't necessarily even have to be like aliens and alien races. I know some of the common alien starseed types are like Sirian, Pleiadian, Lyran, Arcturian, and stuff like that. But know that these are not the only forms or manifestations of starseeds. As I talk about on my channel a lot, you can be a dragon soul. And likely if you're watching this, you have some dragon soul in you. And if you want to learn more about that, I'd encourage you to check out this video right here. That's all about dragon souls and will help you identify if you are a dragon soul specifically. Also of note is that you can be a mix of like more than one starseed type, of course. And in fact, I would say most of us are going to have a mixture of like many different types because most of us here are very old ancient souls that have incarnated so many times. We've kind of done a little bit of everything and so can relate to a lot of these different energies. But alas, these are rabbit holes for another day. I will be doing more videos on starseeds and specific starseed types and signs, so stay tuned. Like I said, like and subscribe and notify and all that good stuff, and you will be updated when I post these videos. But now we've made it to the most important part of the video where I'm going to talk about the 2 biggest challenges that starseeds face and my 2 solutions to these 2 biggest challenges. And they're quite simple. As always, it's very simple. The solutions are always quite simple. We, in these human bodies, these human forms, we kind of overcomplicate things. So the first challenge that starseeds tend to face is escapism. And likely if you've seen my video on like the 5 reasons you're still not shifting, which I'll link up here, I talk about escapism more there, but essentially this relates back to, I believe sign number 2 in this video. Yeah, sign number 2, which is you want to go home. Starseeds, like kind of put home on a pedestal. And I know we can just kind of really hate on planet Earth and like being here and being human. And trust me, my friend, no judgment if that's you, because I've been there 1,000,000%. I, at one point was like, Earth is a prison and this is our punishment and stuff. And I was like really in my victimhood over being stuck here on Earth. Like, oh, what a terrible punishment. That is no longer the case for me. I've taken a more empowered stance since. And I'd encourage you to do the same. But just know, one of the biggest challenges for us is we always want to escape. We want to go somewhere else. We don't want to be here. And this can be very toxic. So what do? My solution for this is simple. It's just magic words. It's a magic mantra. And that mantra is, and I want you to say this with me aloud, please and thank you, because the words we speak, they have a vibration and energy. They're like seeds that you're planting into your reality, and they will slowly but surely take physical form as you are speaking them. So say this aloud with me. And then I also want you to type it in the comments for further integration. Both of these things are ways to integrate and to materialize and make this real instead of just something that's floating around in outer space up here. So the words, my friend, I choose to be here. That simple. Let's say it again. I choose to be here. I feel that. I feel that in my soul. Do you feel that? Oof, it's got a buzz to it. That's some powerful stuff. And I thank you for assisting me in speaking those words aloud, because the more people get on board with this, the more power those words are going to have for all of us. So number 2, the second challenge that starseeds face is feeling alone and isolated and like no one understands them. This is so common, and I feel like this is one we often go back to many, many times throughout the journey, and I've been there a quadrillion times myself, which is why I created my private community, the House of the Spirit Dragon, which you are more than welcome to join, my friend. And I will leave a link in the description below, as well as the comments for easy access. But yeah, this is a private community and mystery school where you can connect with other starseeds, people who understand what you're going through and aren't going to judge you. This is a safe space to learn more about spiritual topics and to personally grow and to heal on this, what is often a really daunting journey. So I would recommend joining that community if you feel called, but I'm not going to pressure you if you don't feel called. However, I will say the solution here is to join some sort of community. Even if it is not my community, you want to join some sort of community with other starseeds, because I'm sorry, like, other people, they aren't really going to get it. You're going to have to start just connecting with other starseeds first. And from there, when you start creating connections, you're going to be able to have enough confidence in yourself to start making connections with people who maybe aren't starseeds or don't identify with starseeds. And then this will just have this beautiful ripple effect. But it starts with you making the conscious choice to put yourself out there and connect with other starseeds. And so if you're too scared to join my community or any community right now, I would encourage you just to take a baby step and just comment below. This will show you that you're not alone. This will allow you to start connecting with other starseeds. So yeah, my friends, that was the video. I am very curious to know if you identify as a starseed. Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you have, you are a superstar, and me and the dragons and your alien brothers and sisters will love you forever. If you could like this video and subscribe and hit the notification bell to be updated when I post on my erratic schedule, because this helps the algorithm along. This helps the stuff get out to other starseeds and to our soul family so that they too can realize they are not alone. So much, much love to you, my friends, my family. You are awesome, my friends. Stay powerful.